Harriett Baldwin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Twigg. This has been an incredibly powerful debate. And I want to thank in particular my honourable friend for Exmouth and Exeter East for securing the debate, my honourable friend from Keighley and Ilkley, and my honourable friend from Bromley and Biggin Hill for their contributions, but also the contributions from right across the House, because I think there has been a consistent theme and a consistent message, and I will try not to repeat all the powerful speeches that we've had. I will try and focus my speech on the questions for the Minister. And I think I would observe that there's been a lot of casework in West Worcestershire on this issue, and it seems to have happened post the decision in July 2025 from Ofcom to allow a change to the universal service obligation. That seems to me to be a point at which I observed a huge increase in the casework. And we've heard some really, really serious consequences this has had on our constituents' lives, and it's incredibly important that the Minister gets to grip in terms of his responsibilities vis-à-vis, in particular, the regulator. So I just want to focus in particular on that meeting that the Minister had last week with Ofcom. And I want to add my appreciation as well to the amazing work that our posties do in West Worcestershire. The meeting with Ofcom came about the afternoon after last week's urgent question, and so this is an opportunity for the Minister to update us on the action that he's taking. Ofcom agreed that the new Czech owner of Royal Mail could change the universal service obligation, and that change started last July. The new delivery model means that first class should continue to be delivered on a daily basis, and second class should be every other day. But what we've heard loud and clear in this debate today is that that does not seem to be happening. We buy a first class stamp for a reason. It's because we want a delivery in the next day. So how is Ofcom justifying its decision to allow Royal Mail to have higher costs for a service that is clearly getting worse? What did they tell the Minister at the meeting that he had? Did he secure any commitments from them in terms of their powers vis-à-vis Royal Mail in this situation? I know the Minister also sits down regularly with Royal Mail. What discussions has he had with them about the issues that have been so well articulated across the House this morning, the staffing cuts, the delivery revisions, the operational changes that have clearly contributed to this collapse in performance? Does the Minister believe that the current regulatory framework for this precious part of our critical national infrastructure is fit for purpose? Is he considering any reforms to the regulatory framework for Royal Mail? The Royal Mail continue to say, I think we've seen it illustrated by the contributions this morning, that the universal service obligation as currently defined is impossible to deliver. But when they bought the company, they must have done due diligence in terms of what the obligations were. Does the Minister accept the premise that the current universal service obligation is impossible to deliver, or does he think that with the right regulatory interventions that the owner can meet them? The letter that the Royal Mail sent to the Business and Trade Committee recently refers to their contingency plans to prioritise parcels to prevent unsafe build-ups. But I think all of us believe, and all of us have heard anecdotally, that actually the prioritisation of parcels is a deliberate business decision, because these seem to be where the margin is in the business. So can the Minister explain the conversations he's had with Royal Mail about the threshold for that contingency that they claim they hold in reserve for addressing parcels with a higher priority than letters? And at what point does a temporary decision to implement that contingency become a permanent de facto policy of deprioritising letters, the very heart of our universal service obligation? Can we also, I give way to my honourable friend.
Giving way, and I'd just like to point out that on Royal Mail's website today, it says that if a customer buys a second-class stamp, they can expect delivery within every every second or third day and a Saturday. But these changes came in on the 28th of July last year, that delivery would not take place on a Saturday. So there seems to be not a consistency between what Royal Mail are saying publicly and what they're actually delivering. And I wonder what she feels the Minister should be doing to address this clear anomaly.
I look forward to the Minister responding to that, but I think what we've heard today is that even that weaker delivery obligation doesn't seem to be happening, does it? And we also need to consider the wider business context that we're living in, because many other businesses, like Royal Mail, have had to pay this additional jobs tax, and the Employment Rights Act is also having an impact in terms of hiring across the economy. So does the Minister acknowledge that his own government has made decisions that have affected things? What assessment has he made of the impact of government tax policies on Royal Mail's financial resilience? And in conclusion, Mr Twigg, this debate's about ensuring that a service relied upon by millions is restored to the standards that the law requires. So I ask the Minister, what steps immediately can he take to restore a reliable 6-day service? What action will he take to hold Royal Mail to its legal obligations? What reforms will he pursue to ensure Ofcom is an active, effective regulator rather than a passive observer? And when will the public finally see improvements to the service in the way that they've been promised for years?